you know, when people talk about writing applications, the first thing that comes to people's mind is Microsoft Word. And what is Word? Word is basically a design program. It has lots of buttons, and all these buttons somehow change the shape of the text. And we know it's a pretty powerful thing to do that. That's why people enjoy it so much. Like, wow, I decide how writing looks. That's awesome. And unfortunately, that's mostly where it ends. The problem is that very few people have the knowledge to, you know, to design type. They don't know what leading is. They don't know what white space is. They don't know which font to choose. They like, for heaven's sake, I mean, they like Comic Sans a lot. Maybe it's not such a bad font to write, to be honest, but they're bad fonts to write. Come on. It's ironic that Comic Sans is so successful in an environment where people have so many choices. What we said is, okay, we observed a lot of people writing as a teacher back in Basel, teaching Microsoft Office. What I saw people doing is opening Office and then, move the mouse and then starting to edit stuff. Starting to choose fonts, starting to click here, starting to click there. And I always have to tell them, okay, now let's write something. And it was horrible. They just wouldn't write. My job was to teach them how to use Office and to teach them rhetoric. And all I had to do is teach them how to start to write. It was really, really painful, and that's where the idea came for. You open a text editor and all you can do is writing. There's no preferences. There is no like bold button. There is no font choice. You can't change the line height. It's all set as it's supposed to. Now, as you can see already, there is some formatting going on here. So there are titles. There are lists. There's even underline. And if you want to, you can also make bold. But the trick is that you never let go of the keyboard. There's one thing I noticed is, as soon as people need to use the keyboard and the mouse, they get confused. Unless they're, Photoshop professionals that do the shortcuts and they work with two hands, like pianists, independently. People get confused because, you need to first find the mouse, and then you need to click, and then you need to select, and then you need to find the right button, and that's mostly when people get really desperate. Where's that button? You work out thousands of buttons, and you find the right one every single time. You want to change anything there, you have to find it. Really painful. So we said no mouse. You can do everything with a thing called auto markdown. So this is how it works. Let's say you want to make a gigantic typo. All you do is you use that hashtag. And this is something that hackers invent. It's called markup language. This particular markup language is called Markdown. And all you need to know is hashtag is a typo. Lists automatically get indented. You don't need to know anything. The other thing you need to know is these funky symbols here, for emphasis 1 and for strong 2. A lot of people do that already on their cell phone. This is sort of a standard. You can also, if you prefer that, don't know what standard in Italy is strong, you use the underline symbol. And that's almost it. That's almost everything we did, except for when we analyzed people writing in a lab situation, and we looked at their visual path. We found out that people really have trouble focusing on their sentence. Now, when you give writing class, you always teach your students one thought per sentence. Just, focus on your sentence, try to make it well. And that seemed to be impossible in a traditional writing environment, because when you're here, you're so tempted to look what you've written before and what you've written below, and what move it's here. I have to paste it there, I have to change this sentence, and then the whole thing falls apart. If if you look at the situation where people read, they actually read, you know, in a more or less linear way. And when you look at texts that are written with this cut and paste craziness, they completely fall apart. They don't have the tone, they don't have the logic of linear writing. And so we thought maybe we could change that somehow. So the idea we came up with is called focus mode. And what you do is, when you write, you only see one sentence at a time. Yeah, it's possible. And now, not everybody likes that so much. Also from the beta testing that we made, you know, some people say, oh, now I can't write, I like to have more text on the Pro, I don't get distracted, I know I don't need it. But when we said, the idea is not to use this all the time, but when you get stuck. And you get stuck in the beginning, when in the beginning you open a text document and you have this giant white sheet and you're like, oh, I have to write 4,000 word article, how am I going to fill this paper? And if you go into focus mode, that tells you just write one sentence. And then the next one, and then the next one, and then the next one, and then you can get out of focus mode because you have an awful lot of stuff and you want to get through. Actually, it helps a lot. It helps you too when you're at word number 2055 and suddenly you don't know anymore what you wanted to say. Where was I going? And instead of going back through the text and starting to change everything, then you hit focus mode and you just write the next sentence, and the next sentence, and the next sentence. It actually works really well. So for those who don't like it, when you give them the explanation, you know, they warm up, and most people really love it. So we've done something similar for iPad, and we've got lots and lots and lots of wallpapers. So where does that idea come from? It comes from mountain climbing. I'm a really, really lazy person when it comes to sports. You know, I wouldn't have studied philosophy if I liked moving too much. I'd rather think about the stone instead of going and picking it up. But I still like skiing. But I don't like ski lifts because there's all the Germans there, and the Italians, and all these people that can't really ski, especially Italians in the south and north, of course, it's good. So I like skiing with like pristine snow. And so the only way to do that is either you rent a helicopter, which, maybe you need to change profession to do that every weekend, or you go on a snow skiing trip. And you can imagine a person like me that doesn't like to move, or snow skiing is difficult, but my friends always drag me with them, and we go up to the mountains. And for the first couple of years, it was a real pain in the ass, because I would ask every 5 minutes, like a little boy, are we there? Where's the end? Is that the end? And they were getting really pissed, these strong Swiss guys from the mountains, only these guys usually go up these mountains, especially if it's cold and stuff. It's nothing for a little city boy like me. And one day, one friend got really angry and said, why don't you shut the fuck up and just do the next step? Just do the next step, and then the next step, and then the next step, because it doesn't change whether you think about it or it just makes you depressed. Just make the next step, and before you know it, you're up there. So everybody else was like, it's really enough, really high thinking. And I felt like, okay, this sounds very intellectual, because maybe if I think about Plato or something, I'll be up, because I think you don't just have typos. But it didn't work, because you're only happy, and you can only think freely, body, mind, do the same thing. So I followed that advice and just took the next step, and the next step, and the next step. Before I knew it, it was up. So that's the trick I use now to going up the mountains. I still don't like to move so much. And I felt, maybe that works for writing too, because it's a similar situation when you have one big blank sheet and you want to write this novel, right? I have to fill 500 pages, otherwise I'm never going to be a great writer. And what this does is just say, yeah, maybe you're not, but just write the next sentence. Let's see where this takes you. And my hard drive's pretty full now with text and a lot. I'm still not a great novelist. it does help me. A good tool doesn't make, you know, a master, but it helps. It helps improve. It helps having fun with what you do, and that's it. If you want to.